boy, Atypical Security Guard. I am currently on the highway. I'm driving home. Traffic is horrible. And I thought that I would take advantage of this opportunity to chat with you guys because it's been a long time since we've done a live stream. And so yeah, let me get some AC on. It's hot. The weather is changing here in Portland. I think that we're officially in spring. It was super cold, super rainy, super wet like over the last couple of weeks, and just like in the last 2 days, the sun has come out, the temperature has changed, like the entire feeling in the area is completely different. Like it's definitely spring, and it could not have come fast enough because I've been like just struggling so bad with my depression. I think a lot of it just has to do with how rainy and how just gloomy and dark it can be here in Portland. So having some sunshine, walking around, getting some fresh air, getting a little bit more exercise, like I'm really looking forward to that. I was going to make a video about this, but I mean, I'm talking about it now, but I was going to make a video about how important it is to take advantage of the opportunities to exercise while you're working. If you have a post where you can or you're required to patrol, take advantage of that. Like, give yourself a daily step count goal. I'm going to do 10,000 steps. I'm going to do 5,000 steps, 1,000, whatever it is. And take advantage of that. Even if you're in a location where, you know, you're not necessarily patrolling, but you have the ability to get up and walk around, you know, take advantage of that, because a lot of the stress and the struggle, the frustration, the boredom that comes with working in security is because you're stagnant. You're just in one spot, right? And I think I'm a firm believer that all of that plays into how security guards react when something happens, right? So for instance, you are stagnant, you're sitting in one spot, you're not moving around, you're bored, you're frustrated, you haven't seen the sun in days, and then you have an issue with a customer or a client or, you know, whatever, and then you respond in a way that you shouldn't, and it's mostly based on the fact that you're in a bad headspace. So take advantage of that. Speaking of which, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Have you or do you, or is this a problem? So let me say this. Is it a problem now, or is it something that you've ever experienced where your co-workers are projecting microaggressions, right? And some of you might not really understand what I'm saying, but like, if you've ever experienced it, you've experienced it. Have you ever been the new person somewhere, or have you ever transferred somewhere, or been like the low guy on the totem pole, or just been in a situation where people in a specific office or area, because I don't know if I lost connection or not. It says video is freezing a bit. Let me know when we're good and I'll pick it back up. I mean, it's just, there's so much traffic through here, so who knows? I got strong bars though. Anything? It says now you got me. All right, I'm gonna try and can you guys hear me? Can you see me? All right, I'm gonna try and pick it up. So yeah, if you've ever experienced that, I would love for you to drop like a thumbs up in the comment section. Either microaggressions or just feeling like you're the kind of the odd person out. I would love to know how you guys handle that and how you deal with that. I have a former coworker. The company that I worked for before, a couple of people have left and gone to different locations. I'm currently working for Echelon, that you guys are seeing all the stuff that I'm doing. This other person is working for a different company. He has only been over there for about 3 weeks, and he's experiencing a lot of microaggressions, according to him. He's experiencing, feeling like he's the odd man out. And I've gone through that. I went through that when I was working in the prison system. I went through that, when I was in the military and you get sent to a different duty station. I even experienced a little bit of that coming over to Echelon. Not as much, but a little bit. So I would love to know what your experiences have been. I saw somebody put in the chat what their personal experience was. I would love to know what yours is, because I think that this is something that a lot of times people experience and they don't know how to handle it. Because if you're dealing with microaggressions from people who are coworkers, you don't want to create a bad environment, but at the same time, you also don't want people to feel that they can talk to you, treat you, or come at you a certain way. But how you respond and how you handle those situations can be extremely detrimental to your time at that location, or it can potentially ingratiate you to people. If you're able to handle those microaggressions, respond to them appropriately, and I don't know what's appropriate based on his situation or a situation you guys have gone through, but depending on how you respond to those situations, it can ingratiate you with other people, and you can also be the person that sets the standard on how things should be done if they're not being done properly or correctly. So I would love to know what you guys have in terms of that. Put that in the comments. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was I am trying to do more on TikTok, just because TikTok is a shorter form platform. It's mostly like people just doom scrolling and going through, but I do think that there's a good opportunity to reach a lot of security guards on TikTok, a lot of younger security guards, and potentially be able to positively impact how they're doing their job. However, I'm going to say this. I think that TikTok, clearly it skews a lot younger in terms of the demographic of people that are on there. The comments, the responses, they are so negative. Like 10 times more negative than YouTube in terms of like just how people carry themselves, the things that they say, and their attitudes. There is a huge fascination, and I think that you guys will agree with me when I say this. There's this huge fascination about what security guards can and can't do. And for some reason, like, it is such a, I don't want to say controversial, but it's like it is such a, the only way that I can say this, and I don't think this is the right verbiage, but it's the only thing that I can come up with. It is so important to people that they're right. So like people's feeling that security guards can't touch you, or security guards can't detain you, or security guards can't arrest you. Like, the desire of people who make those statements to be right is insane. It doesn't matter. Like, you could share a revised statute, you could talk about the law in your state, like whatever it is, but like people will literally die on this hill. I see that a little bit on YouTube, but not as much as I've seen it on TikTok. But it is a conversation point that we should talk about. Like, to me, I've never looked at working in security, and granted, like I said in one of my shorts, like, I'm older, so maybe it's because of my, I'm not gonna say my maturity level, but maybe because of my age, like I just don't see things like this. But I've never looked at working in security and thought to myself, what can I do to somebody? That's not even in my train of thought. Like, I'm the guy, and most of you who've been on this platform long enough to follow my channel, I'm the guy who's always trying to find a way to not have to do something. Regardless of what my authority is, regardless of what I'm legally able to do, I'm generally, and 9 out of 10 of you will validate what I'm saying here, I'm generally the guy in every situation that is trying to find a way to not have to do anything. I don't have a fascination with going hands-on with someone or detaining someone or arresting someone. I have gone hands-on. I have detained multiple people and I have made arrests on multiple people. None of those are things that I enjoy doing, because the paperwork, the liability, the potential to have to testify in court, the potential to be sued civilly, to find yourself in a situation criminally, all of those things are in play, and none of those things sound like fun to me. So from my personal standpoint as a private security guard, that's never been something that's in my mindset to want to do. However, the vast majority of people who comment on my videos, their thought process is like this weird, I'm going to tell this person what they can't do, which you only see, excuse me, you only see that type of response to private security. Nobody goes onto a nurse's TikTok or a nurse's YouTube channel or a nurse's Instagram and says, oh, you're a wannabe doctor. Look at your wannabe doctor ass. You can't do surgery. You can't do surgery. You can't prescribe no medication. Look at your bitch ass. You can't prescribe no medication with your bitch ass. Like, how stupid does that sound? That makes absolutely zero sense. Like, you realize as a person over the age of 11, you realize that a nurse serves a very specific purpose. A nurse has a job to do. While similar to being a doctor, a nurse is not a doctor, and a nurse does not do the exact same thing that a doctor does. They do some similar things. There's some things that nurses do before doctors show up, right? It's a symbiotic relationship. They both need each other. They serve a purpose. You don't even see, like, you know, at my age, it's crazy to see so much sex work on streaming platforms or platforms in general, right? You don't even see people talking down on sex work. It's like literally the only, I really have not found a, career where people on their own are so negative. And I can only imagine because of two things. It's either A, people have had negative experiences with private security. That could be them running up against a wild and crazy security guard, which we have to be honest. We got to be honest. If I'm going to have this conversation, it's got to be an honest and transparent conversation. Security guards, by and large, be wilding out. And historically and in general, I'm making a generalization here, they do some crazy dumb shit. So I get a part of that, I guess, to a degree, right? I think that people have had bad experiences with private security guards. I also think that private security is one of those industries where a lot of people work in it. Like, no matter how old or young you are, you've probably had interactions with private security. Like, you've either worked in private security and you thought it was whack, or you've dealt with some crazy private security guard, or you know somebody who's a dirtbag that's a security guard. And so it messes with your perception of what the job is. The second thing is that historically, the image of private security that the media puts out there is just very negative and very bad too. So I think that people's interaction with security, whether it's in real time or in media or in like just proximity, people they know or people they see, I think it's mostly negative. So maybe that's why it leads people to have like a negative view of security when they're interacting. But again, I have not seen any industry out there where people just have a negative reaction and response. Now, you could say law enforcement. You could say that law enforcement online catches equally, if not more, hate than private security guards. But I would say that's not true, because you see more people, you see an equal number of people supporting law enforcement as you do people giving law enforcement officers a bad time online. I don't see anyone supporting private security unless they're a private security guard. Your average person that's on a social platform where people are having a conversation about the do's and don'ts of security, your average person, like, they don't give a shit. Like, they're not gonna put up like a thought of respect or appreciation for private security like you would for a law enforcement officer. So I don't know, but I would love to know what you guys think about that. Like, have you, I know you have, I'm asking a rhetorical question because I know the answer is yes. Have you experienced, this is not a microaggression, this is just like flat out trolling, being rude, being disrespectful, and being belligerent about people who work in security? And generally the videos that I make, if we're talking about me specifically, generally the videos that I make are all coming from a position of trying to teach and train people to not be that bad guard, right? So like, if you came across my video and it's a video of me talking about the importance of de-escalation or the importance of staying within the scope of your job or the importance of not going overboard or going too far, whatever it is. If I was a outside person and I came across a video like that and I had a negative view of private security, I'd be like, oh shit, hey, respect, man. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, that's cool. It's nice to see somebody out here, you know, teaching, training, trying to make sure people are doing the right thing. I don't ever get that shit. So unless it's from other security guards. I'm at a stoplight. Let me read these comments real quick. Someone says, I don't deal with microaggressions anymore. That's why I'm driving from Amazon. It's just me on the road. I have encountered that in warehouse jobs where I made manager and had conflict with my boss's friend who coached. Together because I asked him to jump in with someone. Others, all good in Philadelphia, the art. Okay, I'm moving, so I'll have to read those comments later. One more thing. I'm actually almost home. Traffic moved a lot better than I thought it would. I do want to share this one thing. Guys, I'm going to tell you something that I had an epiphany at jiu-jitsu the other day. And I think that you can take what I'm about to tell you and you can apply it to anything. When you're new at jiu-jitsu, when you're a white belt, depending on what kind of school you go to, there's two types of schools, right? School A, they give you stripes and you progress based on time. So there's some programs out there where if you do 3 months, you'll probably get a stripe in 3 months. You might get 2 stripes in 6. By the time you get to 8 months, you're probably a 4-stripe white belt and you're ready for blue, right? Then there's other programs, like the program that I go to, where you roll and you train and you might get a stripe every 6 months. You might get 3 stripes your first time. You know, your coach might just walk in one day and hand you a blue belt. Like, there's no necessary rhyme or reason that's written. It's just at the discretion of the coach, right? So if you're in school number 2 or school B, it can be difficult for you to understand your development, right? To know if you're getting better. Now, if you're training a lot, if you're going to a lot of classes, clearly, like, when you're able to get submissions, you're able to get taps, you're able to catch people, you're like, okay, like, I can look back and see where I'm at now versus when I first started, and I must be getting better. But for the most part, if you're not being told by your instructor or your coach that you're getting better, it's hard to gauge that progress, right? So most people who are in my predicament, my situation, this is my 8th month. I've done about 90 classes, right? Most people who are at my level, I've seen a lot of people quit. And most people quit because there's no validation that they're getting better, right? So I was talking to some guys who are all both white belts, and they've kind of been in and out, off and on. They're not really consistent. And so someone said, I don't feel like I'm learning jiu-jitsu. He was like, you know, I've been coming to practice. I've been doing this for a while. I can hold somebody down. I can control somebody. but I'm not good at making transitions into submissions. I don't feel like I'm learning anything. And I said, dude, that couldn't be further from the truth. I said, right now, the basics, when you first come in, the basics that you learn within your first 3 months is how to control somebody, how to hold them down. On the flip side, how to get out of someone holding you down and someone controlling you. I said, now, aside from like the coolness factor and like the ego of being able to transition into different submissions and things like that, 99.9% of people in the world don't understand the concept of how to control somebody on the ground. They don't. A lot of people think they do. Most guys, if you ask them, hey, could you hold me down for 30 seconds? They'll be like, absolutely, right? And they couldn't. They couldn't. So the simple fact that in 8 months, I'm just talking about me, a couple of things that I realize. I know where my injuries are. I'm vehemently aware because every day something hurts, right? I know that if I were to get into it with somebody, I know if I can hip toss that person, trip that person, pull guard. I know all these things because I train them 3 to 4 times a week. I know where my injuries are. I know where my bad shoulder is, my bad knee. I'm very comfortable and confident holding someone down. I know how to choke someone. I know how to not choke someone. I know how to choke someone with a rear naked choke. I know how to utilize a short choke if I can't get that, right? All of these little things. And I told the guys, I said, in your lifetime, the possibility that you're going to have to hold a family member down and control them. Think about having like a 16, 17, 18-year-old son. He's getting a little too big for his britches. He gets out of control. You don't want to choke him out. You don't want to break his arm. But would you potentially have to hold him down until he can get himself under control? Absolutely. Is it possible that you might have to hold someone down so they don't drive drunk a friend or a coworker? Again, you don't want to hurt or harm this person, but you don't want to let this person get into a car and drive and potentially kill someone. You have that ability, and you probably didn't have that ability or didn't understand what not to do before starting, right? My point is that all of the little basic things that you learn when you first start jiu-jitsu, all of those things are beneficial. And the fact that I can articulate this, the fact that I can talk about it, the fact that I can share this with other people, that is a huge step in development of me as an athlete. And a lot of that is not sexy, it's not flashy, but it's a huge area of growth. And I was telling the guys that you can't take that for granted. And the same goes when you're working in security, guys. This is how I tie it in. If you're a unarmed officer, if you're an armed officer, like no matter what your job is in private security, if you've been doing this for 6 months, you've been doing this for 8 months to a year, a little bit longer, your ability to understand situational awareness versus before you started working in security is probably 10 times better. Your ability to communicate with people, articulate yourself, to articulate why you did something or why you didn't do something. Think about being able to write those reports, right? All of the things that you're thinking while you're interacting with someone. If I do A, potentially B will happen. If B happens, then I have to worry about C. If I have to worry about C, then I think about D. All of those things. You don't even think about that stuff when you first start working in security. But after 6 months, after 8 months, after a year, your ability to understand things like spatial awareness, situational awareness, being able to handle or manipulate a firearm. A lot of people, the first time they ever pick up a gun is when they're working in private security, right? Those are all invaluable lessons for life that you can take with you, you can teach your children, you can pour into your wife or your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. So regardless of what it is that you're doing, regardless of what your title is, regardless of what your responsibilities are, I want you guys to understand how much of a difference you're making while you're working in private security. And that difference, it might not necessarily ring true to people who are on the outside looking in, but for yourself, for your family, for the people that you love and care about, think about how much better you are in service to your family and your loved ones after having worked in security. Even if the only thing that you realize is that you don't want to work in security anymore. If you realize you don't want to work in security anymore because you're tired of dealing with horrible people, you're tired of dealing with rude people, you're tired of dealing with belligerent people, hey, guess what? Now you have a better understanding of society than you had before you started working in private security. And if you already knew that about society, now you've just proven that to yourself, right? So it just further reinforces what you were thinking about things before you got into it as well. That is a benefit, all right? So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I know it's a little long-winded, but I hate that I hear so many people when I'm at the gym and they're new or they're young or they're inexperienced. And it's like, I get it, man. Me personally, I want to be told by my coach that I'm doing better. I want to be told by my coach that I've improved. I want to get to that next level. And I crave that just as much as anybody else. But I see other guys come in. I've seen people come in and quit, and they're just like, man, I'm not learning anything. I'm not learning anything. I get my ass kicked every time we roll. And it's like, yeah, you do. You get your ass kicked every time you roll. And when you first came in here, you couldn't even get through the first 5-minute roll. Now you're getting through 5-minute rolls. You're losing, right? You're losing all 5. But out of those 5, 3 of them, you made it 5 minutes. And the other 2, you got tapped out, but it was in the, the final minute or the final 30 seconds. You're improving. You're figuring out how to defend a choke. You're figuring out how to defend this. You're figuring out, all of these little things that in the big scheme of things, they are important. And it's the same thing with private security. Oh, I'm not doing anything of substance. I'm not doing anything important. No, you're able to de-escalate a situation that doesn't lead to you having to go hands-on. That's awesome. You're able to talk to someone when the manager's at their wit's end, they're getting aggressive, the other person's getting aggressive. You're able to step in, you're able to have a conversation with this person and keep it from going south, right? You're able to have situational awareness and know that the 3 guys that just came in who have the shiesty mask on, maybe you should let somebody know and you guys keep an eye on these guys, right? Things that you probably wouldn't have known to do before you started working in private security. So just like, those guys and myself, like we were taking for granted what we've learned as white belts, don't take for granted what you guys are doing at your level of security, regardless of what that is, okay? So speaking of all this jiu-jitsu shit, I got to go to practice, and I just made it home. So let me run through these comments real quick, see if there's anything on here. Okay, let's see here. All right, my security job is to get me doing other people's job, like put away clothes to help or be a team player, because every other security guard does, and finally pushed for some respect in our field. Brian says, you're right. Thank you. PBE. I don't observe from reporting. Yeah, everybody knows about you, PBE. You're world renowned. EA, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read your name. It says Private Armed Guard in Washington. Just saying to keep doing what you're doing. Love this channel. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Drew says, isn't security under the thin purple line? You know what? Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about the thin purple line. I want to get your guys' opinion on that, but I need to get my thoughts together. Ski Mask says, if a security officer did remove the resident from their home, even though it's on contract, is there some kind of lawsuit? Yeah, you cannot remove people from their property. If the person has renter's rights or they're renting a property and you're working private security on that contract, you should not be removing people. Pretty sure the sheriff's office has to do evictions. Sheriff's office, if you're in Pennsylvania, you can be a constable and do evictions, but private security, I don't believe does evictions. I can't imagine that would be something that you'd want to get yourself involved in. Thomas, verbal judo and de-escalation has been my most valuable asset in 30 years in the security field. Absolutely. Yeah, working as an armed officer, he says, and being an armed officer, you have quadruple the responsibility to be able to de-escalate. In most situations, the better your people skills, body cues, tones, and verbal cues greatly reduce the need to go hands-on in my experience. Absolutely, Jay Thomas. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. How you talk to people is so important. I guess that kind of ties everything. We talked about the microaggressions from coworkers. We talked about people having like these negative thoughts or whatever about security on the platforms. And then we talked about the self-negative talk with people who were thinking that they weren't progressing or learning. I guess it all comes full circle. That all comes down to communication. Communication with other people, communication with yourself. What are you saying to yourself? And guys, I know that I come on here and I make these videos for you guys, and I think I have close to 2,000 videos on my page. That's a lot of training and education. My self-talk is not positive. I do not have positive self-talk. Like, I struggle, guys. I struggle with depression. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with like feeling inadequate and like I'm not good enough. I get it. So don't ever think that I have it all figured out, because I don't. I'm just trying to keep going like everybody else, okay? Matthew West, what's good? It's all good, bro. All right, guys, I'm gonna go in, kiss my wife, shake my dog's hands, give them hugs. I'm gonna go to jiu-jitsu and get strangled by other men. All right, y'all have a good night.